During the early morning of November 9, 1975, a low-pressure system began to take shape in the southern plains. This storm would move northeast and intensify considerably over the next 36 hours as it moved into the Great Lakes region. While the storm was not unusual for November, it was intense enough to prompt the National Weather Service to issue gale warnings for all of Lake Superior for northeast winds of 35 to 50 knots and wave heights of 8 to 15 feet. The Edmund Fitzgerald, now under the command of Ernest M. McSorley, along with 28 other crew members, left the Burlington Northern Docks of Superior, Wisconsin, on the route to the steel mill in Zug Island near Detroit, Michigan, with a cargo of 26,116 long tons of taconite ore pellets, reaching her full speed of 14.2 knots. The National Weather Service altered their warning, issuing gale warnings for the whole of Lake Superior. Edmund Fitzgerald altered course northward, seeking shelter along the Ontario shore, where they encountered a winter storm at 1 o'clock a.m. on November the 10th. Edmund Fitzgerald reported winds of 52 knots and waves 10 feet high. Captain Dudley Packett of Wilfred Sykes, another Great Lakes freighter, reported that after 1 a.m., he overheard McSorley of Edmund Fitzgerald say that he had reduced the ship's speed because of the rough conditions. The captain of Wilfred Sykes said he was stunned to later hear that the Fitzgerald's captain, who was not known for turning aside or slowing down, state that, "We're going to try for some leave from Isle Royale. You're walking away from us anyway. I can't stay with you." At 2 o'clock a.m. on November the 10th, the National Weather Service upgraded its warnings from gale to storm, forecasting winds of 35 to 50 knots. Until then, Edmund Fitzgerald had followed another freighter, Arthur M. Anderson, who was traveling at a constant speed of 12.7 knots. But the faster Edmund Fitzgerald pulled ahead at about 3 o'clock. As the storm center passed over the ships, they experienced shifting winds, with wind speeds temporarily dropping as wind direction changed from northeast to south and then northeast. After 1:50 p.m., when Arthur M. Anderson logged winds of 50 knots, wind speeds again picked up rapidly and began to snow at 2:45 p.m., reducing visibility. Arthur M. Anderson lost sight of Edmund Fitzgerald, which was about 16 miles ahead at the time. Shortly after 3:30, Captain McSorley radioed Arthur M. Anderson to report that Edmund Fitzgerald was taking on water and had lost 2 vent covers and a fence railing. The vessel had also developed a list. 2 of Edmund Fitzgerald's 6 bilge pumps ran continuously to discharge ship's water. McSorley said that he would slow his ship down so that Arthur M. Anderson would close the gap between them. In a broadcast shortly afterwards, the United States Coast Guard warned all shipping that the Sioux locks had been closed and they should seek safe anchorage. Shortly after 4:10 p.m., McSorley called Arthur M. Anderson again to report a radar failure and asked Arthur M. Anderson to keep track of them. Edmund Fitzgerald, now blind, slowed to let Arthur M. Anderson come within a 10-mile range so that she could receive radar guidance from the other ship. For a time, Arthur M. Anderson directed Edmund Fitzgerald towards the relative safety of Whitefish Bay. Then, at 40:39, McSorley contacted the Coast Guard station in Grand Marais, Michigan, to inquire whether the Lightfish Point Light and navigation beacon were operational. The Coast Guard replied that the monitoring equipment indicated that both instruments were inactive. McSorley then hailed any ships in the Whitefish Point area to report the state of the navigational aids, receiving an answer from Captain Cedric Woodward of the Swedish ship Avafors between 5 o'clock and 5:30 p.m. that the Whitefish Point Light was on, but not the radio beacon. Sometime later, McSorley told Woodward, "I have a bad list. I have lost both radars. I am taking heavy seas over the deck in one of the worst seas I have ever been in." By late in the afternoon of November the 10th, sustained winds of over 50 knots were recorded by ships and observation points across eastern Lake Superior. Despite everything, Edmund Fitzgerald stormed on as best as she could, despite the damage she had sustained. But at approximately 7:10 p.m., when Arthur M. Anderson notified Edmund Fitzgerald of an upbound ship and asked how she was doing, Captain McSorley replied, "We are holding our own." Edmund Fitzgerald was never heard from again. No one knows exactly what happened to Edmund Fitzgerald that evening. But in any case, she split apart and sank, taking every last man with her. There was no time for a mayday call. All of this happened 50 years ago, today. While many ships in the Great Lakes had sunk, ranging from ships like Carl D. Bradley, Regina, Daniel J. Morrell, etc., etc., Edmund Fitzgerald stands as the largest ship lost in the Great Lakes. And 50 years later, that has remained uncontested, and hopefully it will remain that way for another 50 years. The bell of Edmund Fitzgerald was recovered from the wreckage, and every anniversary since rings 29 times, one ring for each crew member, and one last ring for those lost on the Great Lakes. And this concludes the Edmund Fitzgerald Recollections. Thank you for tuning in.
That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go